Smerkanich, and today I'll be teaching LA in the Spotlight, Hollywood Influence on America and the World. So, Hollywood is like an octopus with tentacles extending across the globe. This was said from Tom Brooks at BBC. And it really illustrates the fact about how American culture is so pervasive in the world. McDonald's is estimated to have over 36,000 restaurants in over 100 countries and almost 2 million employees worldwide. And everyone knows those golden arches in every country they go. Doesn't matter the language underneath it, but seeing that orange or the yellow and the red combined with those golden arches shows that it's a McDonald's. And there have been studies done that the yellow and red combination actually makes people hungrier by seeing those colors together, which is kind of crazy. The top most popular Instagram accounts, the top 10 most popular Instagram accounts by numbers of followers, and this is as of July 2017. 9 out of those 10 are Americans. America also has the most visited theme parks in the world. The information is from 2015. All 10 are either Disney or Universal Studios somewhere in the world. And the top 3 are Disney World, Disneyland, which is here in LA, and Disneyland Tokyo. Of the top 10 highest grossing movies of 2017 in the world, all 10 of them were American, and all of them were made by production companies based in Hollywood. And we're going to talk a little bit more about Hollywood in the next upcoming slides. Next, we'll be discussing popular culture and its global influence and power. So even if America doesn't have the most positive image throughout many places in the world, American-made objects and culture continue to be popular and influential. America has a lot of influence in the world because of the widespread popularity of American culture. Nothing shows this better than this hard power versus soft power and how America wields that power. Joseph Nye came up with the idea of soft power in 1990 when discussing international relations and policies. So hard power is using force to get what you want. Good examples of this are military invasions and economic interventions and sanctions. Versus soft power, which is much more subtle and is based on persuasion and not force. So soft power uses a nation's culture, historical, and diplomatic influences to persuade other countries to have the same goals and wants. It's the ability to shape the preferences and long-term opinions of others without using force. Some examples of this are the media and entertainment. So the popularity of American media and entertainment around the world, whether that's music, reality television shows, even the Instagram accounts of the Kardashians, diplomats, and diplomacy overseas using foreign assistance and aid as well. So we're going to look at why the U.S. has so much soft power. So historically, globalization is the main cause of why we have so much soft power. Globalization is the way different countries and cultures interact around the world and integrate. And this has been going on for thousands of years. But recently, technological developments in the last few decades have infinitely sped up this process. So globalization means that America media and entertainment has a global audience. There is also an exportation of culture. So America's global dominance in the area of media and entertainment began around the time of World War I. And when America began to export its culture through films and music, we'll see this in Charlie Chaplin films, Western films, jazz music. And then after World War II came the rise of the consumer culture and this idea of an American lifestyle, the American dream in the 1950s, which spread across the world. And lastly is technology. So personal computing and the internet were pioneered here in Silicon Valley, up in California, above me in California, since I'm in Los Angeles. I always say up because Silicon Valley is to the north of Los Angeles. And this Silicon Valley is the heart of where technology was created, where the internet came about, where Facebook was pioneered. And when this spread worldwide, it carried American cultural influences with it as well. So currently, there's a lot of reasons why America has so much soft power. First is the English language, in particular American English. An estimated 2 billion people speak some form of English, and this is a huge market. We don't have the largest population, but yet many people want to speak English, and that is so that they can partake in American culture, like music and television. The U.S. is also a country of immigrants. In order to appeal to a wide range of Americans, you have to appeal to a wide range of people who live in the United States. American popular culture also has a universal appeal. It expresses the desires and dreams that a large number of people across the globe can relate to. One of those things being the American dream, that you come to the U.S. with very little money, you work hard, and you can start your own business and establish a great job and really make a life for yourself here, starting with virtually nothing. So I think that dream and that potential, the US really sells that potential. And I think that is why it has such a high universal appeal to people from all over. And lastly, we have a very powerful entertainment industry with strong marketing and money backing it. The entertainment industry generates more revenue from overseas sales than any other industry in the U.S., other than commercial aerospace and industry. So this entertainment industry, when we look at movie premieres, usually the first weekend when a movie premieres in the U.S., they'll release how much money they made, but then the bigger weeks is when it's released in international countries, specifically China, and that's where you see huge revenue jumps. So entertainment that's made in the U.S. is oftentimes very popular in other countries. An example of another powerful entertainment industry with strong marketing and money backing it is American music. So here we see American music genres, and almost all types of American music have swept the globe, including ragtime, blues, jazz, big band, country western, rock and roll, R&B, hip hop, and rap as well, which is just down the street from me. Compton is not too far from where I live and where rap really got its start. Many of you have watched the video that I'm going to be referring to next, which is Happy by Pharrell. So this is a great example in terms of a song with a universal appeal, excellent promotion, and specific global marketing strategy. So Pharrell made the world's first 24-hour music video, and it was set in the streets of LA. It featured over 400 people dancing to the song, including celebrities like Magic Johnson, Kelly Osbourne, and Steve Carell. I think Jamie Foxx is in there as well. And everyone only had one take when they were filming their part. It was also very strategic that he licensed the song to several ads, and in it you also see they pan to the Beats headphones and to the movie Despicable Me 2 with those minions. And then Pharrell encouraged people in cities across the world to recreate the music video, which led to a global YouTube of people imitating Pharrell's dance moves. And so that really encouraged people from all over the world to dive in and become a part of this phenomenon of dancing and singing happy around the world. So next we'll look at what is Hollywood and why it has so much cultural influence. So first we'll just talk about what Hollywood is. It's not the same as a neighborhood of Hollywood. In this context, what we'll be talking about, Hollywood is defined as a system of the U.S. entertainment industry revolving around what's called as the Big Six. So the Big Six production companies are Paramount, Sony Pictures, 20th Century Fox, Walt Disney Studios, Universal City Studios, and Warner Brothers. And together, these 6 companies are estimated to account for about 80 to 90% of American and Canadian commercial film revenues. And in 2019, Disney purchased Fox, so now it's actually the Big Five. A few reasons why Hollywood has so much soft power and cultural influence. Similar to American pop culture in general, Hollywood has the ability to tell stories that are universally appealing. These stories aren't action-based and they don't rely too much on dialogue or comedy, which are harder to understand and enjoy cross-culturally with a language barrier. And the stories promote values that appeal to most people, such as freedom, strength, success. Hollywood is also a powerful money-making machine, and it has lots of global marketing power, and money talks, especially when it comes to the entertainment industry. Hollywood sometimes also works with the U.S. government in different capacities. One of those examples is Hollywood had help from the U.S. State Department and the Commerce Department and other federal agencies in promoting products abroad. Shortly after 9/11, a team of high-level media executives, including the heads of all the major Big Six, met with White House officials to discuss ways that the entertainment industry could improve the image of the U.S. overseas. So this is a great example of the government using soft power in international relations, of being really strategic about how they present the U.S. to the rest of the world. And in 2016, John Kerry, who was then the Secretary of State, also met with the heads of the major Hollywood studios at Universal Studios to discuss how to counter ISIS. So we see here high-level officials from the U.S. government working with studios to talk about how to counter terrorism, which I did not know about originally. We also see that many of the powerful and influential individuals in the founding of Hollywood were immigrants. Their diverse cultural backgrounds means their stories are appealing to a wide range of people. And Hollywood has many competitive advantages because it's a dense regional cluster of specialized producers. So many people come to Los Angeles to work in the entertainment field, and Hollywood has a vast and unique pool of talent to pull from. I do want to say one more thing about Hollywood founded by immigrants and diverse cultural backgrounds. And that is, I want to include a relevant example, which is that Mindy Kaling just put out a Netflix series, Never Have I Ever, which shows an Indian American young girl's experience in high school. And I think that I recently watched that, and I would highly recommend it for you guys. I think that it really shows not only the diversity of cultures in the U.S., but that also when someone like Mindy Kaling, who started, on The Office and then was a writer and producer, once she got to a position of power, she started making films and television series that reflected her own personal experience. And I think that's sometimes what Hollywood does best, is that when we see, women of color rise to power, they use their influence to show what their experience is like on a larger scale. So I had referred to this before, this idea of the American dream, but when we're looking at Hollywood success stories, we're going to look at Walt Disney. So Walt Disney was born in Chicago in 1901, and he grew up on a farm. In 1922, he started his first animation business called Laugh-O-Grams, but unfortunately, it quickly went under and went bankrupt. In 1923, Walt Disney moved to Los Angeles with $40 in his pocket to become a director, and he founded Walt Disney Studios in the same year, which is crazy. In 1928, he invented Mickey Mouse, which many of you have probably, I would guarantee probably all of you have seen or might have a fondness for Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse went on to immediately become a national sensation. And Walt Disney he voiced Mickey Mouse from the first inception of Mickey Mouse from 1928 to 1946. In 1937, Walt Disney made Hollywood's first full-length animated film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It was also the first film to have complete merchandising campaign in place when it released. And that is really interesting to note, that it had, with not only the movie, was this idea of a merchandising campaign, that there would be items sold to promote the movie. In 1954, Disney bought 244 acres of land in Anaheim, so just down the street from me, to be the site of Disneyland. And in 1955, Disneyland opened, and it was successful from the very, very beginning. Unfortunately, in 1966, Walt Disney passed away, but his company continued to flourish long after he passed away. So why was Walt Disney so successful, and why did his company thrive so much? The biggest reasons is marketing and merchandising. So Disney was the first film producer to have a complete merchandising program. This idea of branding. He set the standard for what a brand experience would be by bringing his movie characters, Mickey, Goofy, Donald Duck, to life at Disneyland, and have these bigger than life characters to meet in person. Then we see this brand stretching. So he pioneered this idea as well. By moving his brand into new areas. We see it on soda cans. We see it on credit cards. So something that really, credit cards don't have anything to do with Disney, but by putting an image on it, people would be more interested in getting the credit card that had Mickey Mouse on it. And then we see that the current examples of this brand stretching is Disneyland theme parks all over the world. The Disney Cruise Line, Disney brand credit cards. Disneyland Tokyo is the third most visited theme park in the entire world. So Disney is considered one of the world's strongest brands, especially for children. And this carries with it an extraordinary amount of influence and power all over the world. So let's take a look at Hollywood values and the exporting of Hollywood culture. So there's two pictures on this slide. On the left-hand side, there's a woman getting married, Christina, who works as a pharmacy technician at Walmart. She got married at Walt Disney in Cinderella's glass coach. And this was her quote. "Disney makes everything perfect. I felt like a princess with that big gown and Cinderella coach. We don't come from a rich family. When we ran into a financial slump, we were unable to come to Disney for several years. It was a big deal that I was able to take my parents to Disney and give that gift to them." And then on the second image on the right-hand side, this is a picture of girls at Bibbidi Boppidi Boop boutique at Walt Disney World in Florida undergoing a castle package makeover. So for $200, girls get their nails, makeup, and hair done, and their choice of a Disney princess costume to wear with photos. So these pictures illustrate Disney's cultural influence, but also the idea of how people without a lot of money will pay a lot of money for the idea of living a Disney or a princess lifestyle. And as we go through these, I have my own personal opinion on what's going on, and I would encourage you to look at these critically and and empathize with the people who are in them. Empathize with Christina, knowing that it was a very special occasion for her to go to Disney and to have that experience, and it's something that she looked forward to and saved. And the same goes for the young girls. Like, this could be a great birthday present, or something that they really ask their parents for years, and then finally get to go get their hair and makeup done. But it also reflects the ideals of American culture, that we save up for these experiences. And is it the experience? Is it the pictures they get to take while there? What do they really value? And one person who very much puts a critical lens to this is Laura Greenfield. So Laura Greenfield is a photography and filmmaker, and she documents the effects of consumer culture around the world. So one way that she does that is she looks into the values of Hollywood: materialism, the cult of celebrity, and the importance of image, and how that has influenced people around the world. So while Greenfield does photograph celebrities and rich people, she's actually more interested in how people without fame and money are driven by the desire to copy the rich and the famous lifestyle. So the images in this slide are from her exhibition and book, Generation Wealth. So we see at the top left-hand corner, this is a teenage boy in LA that saved up to buy designer items so he could look rich like other kids at his school. On the right-hand top side, we see middle school boys in LA flashing $100 bills. And they told the photographer that if she wanted to make a documentary for kids in LA and document their real lives, she'd take a picture of money, because it's all about money. Then at the bottom left-hand side, we see 13-year-old members of a popular clique at a school in Minnesota in 1998. And a key to gaining popularity, they said, was wearing clothes from the brands Gap, Abercrombie & Fitch, or J. Crew. And this is still, I know that happened with me in the U.S. That was part of my personal experience, was growing up, that there were certain brands that would make you cool and give you popularity growing up. And I think as an adult in the U.S., there is still that mentality that there are wearing nicer clothes, makes you look more put together and makes you look like you have money. And so it still is very pervasive of my life here. Especially in LA. And then lastly, on the bottom right-hand side, we see Sarah Jane Ho. She teaches a 2-week high-end etiquette class in Beijing, China. The class costs $16,000, and she teaches, among a variety of other things, how to correctly pronounce the name of high-end brands, which absolutely blows my mind. But for people who are wanting to come here and buy Hermes scarves or Christian Louboutins in a store here, she makes sure that they know how to say the words properly. So next we'll go into a bit of a controversial topic, but we'll talk about TV and reality TV and how they've been spreading Hollywood values all over the world for quite some time. We see this from everything from Beverly Hills 90210 from the 1990s, and I very, very clearly remember watching The OC growing up, which is funny because now I go to The OC all the time, and now to modern day Keeping Up with the Kardashians. So more recently, social media has spread these values and images of Hollywood even more. Of the top 25 Instagram accounts by followers, 5 of them are the Kardashians. Kim, Khloe, Kourtney, Kylie Jenner, and Kendall Jenner. And the Kardashians are an example of a new type of celebrity. And that's a celebrity that earns fame not by specific accomplishments in a field, but by living a very public lifestyle that other people watch and want to copy. This is called famous for being famous, as Paris Hilton once was quoted saying on The Real Life. Was that her show? But Paris Hilton was one of the famous people one of the first people for being famous for being famous. So there's even a word for this fascination of Hollywood culture and the desire to copy it, and it's Hollywoodize. And the definition is to adapt a story or series of events so as to conform to the supposed norms of a typical Hollywood film, especially in respect of being unrealistically glamorous, exciting, or simplistic. And I find, as somebody who lives very close to Hollywood, this hits really close to home because I do think that a lot of our lives have been Hollywoodized and they've become very unrealistically glamorous, exciting, or simplistic. I see it all the time on Instagram when people post things about what their apartments look like or their outfits, and I'm thinking, like, where do they get their money and how do they afford that lifestyle? That's usually my main question, which is pretty cynical. But then the other part of that is that realistic? Is that what their lives are like all the time? And I think it would be really hard to maintain if it was. So we'll look next at the future of Hollywood and if it will last. So Hollywood and American cultural influence may be changing. We see that as and I mentioned this before, Hollywood now makes most of its money from overseas. An estimated 70% of revenue earned from Hollywood movies are made outside of America. And American industry is now dependent on appealing to non-Americans. For example, Iron Man 3, I know Star Trek also did this as well, was released in China and had extra scenes and characters. It had a completely different subplot that involved Chinese characters that wasn't in the American version. And I know that's true for, both Star Trek films had extra scenes and characters that were not in the American version. So a lot of countries have passed protectionist measures, like France, to make sure that American entertainment doesn't harm local economy and industries. So this limits the amount of American films that can be released in certain countries. On the flip side, there are also measures that have been taken in countries like Germany, specifically Berlin, to make sure that American entertainment comes to them. So if you haven't noticed, in the last 2 years, there have been quite a few shows filmed in Berlin, and that's because they lowered measures financially so that American TV shows would come in and film in the city of Berlin to kind of promote it. So we have at one point like some countries that are making it harder to film and then some countries that are making it easier to film. And then lastly, the rise of financial successful independent movie making and film studios located outside of Hollywood also point to a decline in Hollywood's influence. That being said, Netflix, Hulu, they all are based in either Santa Monica or in Hollywood, which are all near in the surrounding LA area. So as I finish the class, I want you to think about what you think the future of Hollywood will be. You will get a chance to share your thoughts in your next assignment. But do you think America and Hollywood's influence has peaked? Do you think that people in other countries are becoming more critical of the Hollywood influence and are stepping away from it? And do you think that it's a positive or negative thing to have such a high influence from Hollywood and our glamorous ideals here? So those are just some things to think about moving into your next assignment.